I never believed the old ranch stories. Around campfires, the cowhands would whisper about a rabbit with antlers, the jackalope. They said it could mimic human voices, lure you off the trail, and vanish before your eyes. I laughed it off, until one night, in the middle of the Wyoming plains, I heard something impossible. I was riding back late, the moon hanging low over the sagebrush. The land was quiet, too quiet. Then, clear as day, I heard my own voice echo back at me. "Go home." I froze. No one else was there. My horse stirred, ears twitching, uneasy. That's when I saw movement, a small shape bounding between the brush, antlers glinting in the moonlight. At first, I thought it was a deer. But it was too small, too fast, and it laughed. A high, mocking laugh that sent a chill down my spine. The stories weren't just jokes told to scare greenhorns. The jackalope was real. And it wasn't running away. It was circling me. The laughter echoed across the plain, bouncing in every direction. My own voice came again, only twisted, distorted. "Don't turn around." My hands tightened on the reins. The horse refused to move forward, hooves digging into the dirt. I felt the weight of unseen eyes on me. Then, from the corner of my vision, I saw it, the silhouette of a rabbit, but wrong, too large. Antlers branched from its head like a crown, and its movements were sharp, unnatural. It darted from one patch of brush to another, faster than my eyes could follow. I tried to speak, but the words caught in my throat. Before I could muster a sound, my own voice rang out again from the darkness. "Stay where you are." The jackalope wasn't just mocking me. It was controlling the silence, weaving my fear into the night. A cold wind swept the grass, and I realized something that made my stomach drop. The laughter, it wasn't moving farther away. It was getting closer. The night in the prairie has a way of swallowing sound. You think you're alone until the world reminds you otherwise. That evening, beneath a sky heavy with stars, I felt the truth of it. The jackalope's laughter still hung in the air, mingling with the low rustle of dry grass. It wasn't just an animal. I knew animals, their tracks, their habits, their fears. This was something that understood me, something that chose to play with me. I dismounted the horse, my legs unsteady, boots sinking slightly into the sandy soil. I turned in a slow circle, lantern raised, light pushing back only a small bubble of darkness. Beyond that fragile glow, the prairie stretched on endlessly, and somewhere in that ocean of black, the jackalope waited. Then it moved. A flash of white fur and curved antlers darted across the edge of the light. My breath caught, too fast, much too fast for a rabbit or anything like it. The horse reared, neighing, nearly ripping the reins from my grip. And then came the mimicry, my own voice again, but softer this time. Whispers layered over whispers. "Leave now. Leave now. Leave now." It sounded as though it came from the tall grass itself. The jackalope was circling, never revealing its full form, only flashes, an ear, an antler, glowing eyes that caught the lantern light like glass. I remembered the old stories the locals told, half in jest, half in warning. They said the jackalope could lure travelers into traps, mimicking voices of loved ones. They said its antlers weren't just for show. More than one hunter had found themselves gored, bodies discovered days later with expressions of terror frozen on their faces. At the time, I laughed at those tales. Out here in the dark, I wasn't laughing anymore. I decided to test it. "Who are you?" I called, my voice cracking. For a moment, silence, then, perfectly, came my own reply. "Who are you?" The same tone, the same tremble. It was me. I felt my blood run cold. The jackalope wasn't just mocking, it was learning. The lantern flickered, struggling against the wind. My horse pulled harder at the reins, desperate to flee. That was when I saw it fully, for the first time. It stood just beyond the light, crouched low. A rabbit's body, but larger, shoulders rippling with unnatural strength. Its antlers were sharp, jagged, not the clean branching of a deer's but something more violent, twisted. And those eyes, deep, knowing, reflecting back not just the lantern's glow but something older, something patient. It didn't attack, it didn't run. It smiled. Not with lips but with the tilt of its head, with the slow shift of its antlers catching the moonlight, as though mocking me for daring to stand there trembling. The laughter came again. This time it was no mimicry, it was real. A sound that didn't belong to any animal I knew, harsh, grating, layered like two voices speaking at once. And then silence. The jackalope melted back into the grass, gone in the blink of an eye. My instinct screamed at me to run, but something else, some terrible curiosity, anchored me there. I had to know what it wanted, why it hadn't struck. The prairie answered with quiet, except for the restless snort of my horse. I whispered to myself, barely audible. It's just a story, just a story. But deep down, I already knew the truth. The jackalope was real, and it was hunting. The desert was colder than I expected that night. The kind of cold that sinks into your bones, not because of the temperature, but because of the silence, that absolute, oppressive silence. I remember standing there, in the middle of the valley, my flashlight trembling in my hand, trying to convince myself that I was only chasing shadows, nothing more. But deep down, I knew. For days I had followed whispers through town, stories about hunters who vanished, about drunkards in saloons swearing they heard their own voices echoing back at them from the dark. They all spoke of the same thing, a rabbit with horns, eyes glowing like embers, and a voice that wasn't its own. The jackalope. At first I laughed. Who wouldn't? A rabbit with antlers sounded more like a taxidermist's joke than a nightmare. But then the stories lined up to neatly, the disappearances to precise. And worse, one evening, while I was alone in my room, I heard my own voice whispering my name back to me. Not from the hallway, not from the street, but from inside the walls. That was the moment I knew I had no choice but to find it. So I came here, to the desert, to the place where they said it always returns when the moon is high and the night is still. The first sign was faint, the crunch of gravel behind me. I spun around, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the dark, but there was nothing. Only endless sand and the twisted shapes of desert shrubs. I forced myself to breathe, to stay calm, but then the voice came. Don't go. It was my voice, my exact tone, my exact words. I froze, my chest tightened as I realized I had said those same words to myself just minutes earlier, a whisper under my breath. Now the desert had thrown them back at me. No, not the desert, something in the desert. I backed away, my light darting across the rocks. That's when I saw it. At first, I thought it was a hare sitting on its hind legs, watching me. But then it shifted, and the horns gleamed, antlers, sharp and unnatural, rising from its skull like a crown. Its eyes glowed, to burning coals fixed on me, and when it opened its mouth, it didn't scream. It laughed. It laughed with my laughter. I felt my legs weaken, my body wanting to collapse. The jackalope stepped closer, its shadow stretching across the sand, far too large for its size. And then it spoke again, not with one voice, but with many. A chorus, a cacophony of voices stolen from the people of the town. Men, women, children, all speaking at once, tangled into one horrific sound. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't move. It was as if the thing had pinned me in place, pulling every ounce of willpower out of me. The jackalope rose taller, impossibly tall, until it towered over me. The antlers seemed to scrape the night sky itself. The laughter grew sharper, louder, turning into a scream that rattled the earth. My flashlight flickered, then died, leaving me in darkness. In that void, I felt something brush against my ear, fur, warm breath. And then, in a whisper that wasn't mine, but felt like it belonged to me, the jackalope spoke. "You belong to me now." I gasped, stumbling backward, my heart slamming in my chest. When the light flickered back on, the desert was empty. No creature, no sound, just silence again, heavier than before. I don't remember how I made it back home. My body moved, but my mind stayed behind, trapped in that valley, and even now I can't escape it. Because when I try to sleep, I hear voices, my own, my family's, my friends. They speak words I haven't said yet, words I know I will say. The jackalope doesn't just take voices, it steals futures. It waits, repeating what you will one day say, mocking you with the inevitability of your own choices. I know what you're thinking. This sounds impossible, like some fever dream spun out of loneliness and fear. But ask yourself this, why do so many people disappear out here in this nothingness with no trace? Maybe the desert doesn't swallow them. Maybe the jackalope does. And if you ever find yourself wandering under the moonlight in a place where silence grows too thick and you hear your own voice echoing back at you, don't answer, don't look, don't listen. Because the jackalope is always listening. And if you felt that chill crawling up your spine just now, don't face it alone. Subscribe to Twinkling, join me in uncovering the next terror waiting in the shadows, and let's step deeper into the darkness together. Because trust me, this is only the beginning.